We have your books.
Oh yeah,
Oh, great.
It's here. I have proof that
We
I
both
have
got
it. Whoa, you have the book too? That's amazing.
I know.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Watchtower Database exclusive interview. Today, we have with us a very special guest, Justin Erickson of the Phantom City Creative, a Toronto-based independent graphic design company. You may recognize from their work on the Batman the Animated Series, tribute posters, and vinyl covers for Mondo. They recently released a coffee table book. It's a beautiful book called the Batman the Animated Series, the Phantom City Creative Collection, published by Insight Editions. Yeah, it's a long title, and it's got some hyphens and colons in there.
That one took a while to figure out.
Foreword by Paul Dini is also part of the title.
But welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How did you come upon Batman the Animated Series in the first place? I know you're a little bit older than us, but
Fairly certain I was a young kid when it was still on TV, so I'd watch it, and then there were reruns for years after that.
Yeah, just kind of catch it on Fox Kids, and this is something I will continue to watch for sure.
Yeah, if it was on TV, I keep watching it.
Your website lists so many high-profile clients from like Marvel, Sony, NBC, Sci-Fi Channel, Lionsgate, A24. I could keep going. So what's the story behind Phantom City Creative? How did you get into graphic design? And how do you generally collaborate with these big brands?
At the very beginning, I guess, I've always been an artist. I've always been drawing, painting, doing design when I can. So it was a foregone conclusion I'd be doing it for a job one day. Yeah, I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have plan B. It was this or homeless, really. And eventually I started working for a magazine here in Toronto called Rue Morgue Magazine. I would still take on the odd freelance gig when I was working full time. Here in Toronto, there's a crazy great film community. So you just, over the years, I got to know them. Like there's young filmmakers, and then they know I'm an artist or designer, and they'd say, oh, do you make film posters? I'm like, yeah, why not? Sure. I caught the bug in a big way. And then my now wife and I were both artists. When we first got together, we were thinking of ways to collaborate. We both love film, and we're both loving film posters. Let's do something together. And so we started to work together on the company, and it's been like 10 years now we've been doing this with the bigger different clients. Like they would approach us to do some work with them, and it was a lot of great fits with the people and the projects. Like it's great that more illustrative and conceptual work is becoming more popular now, because I think part of that is companies like Mondo making it, like proving that it can be both beautiful and successful, like from a marketing standpoint. But the people who are actually in charge of where marketing campaigns go are of an age where they remember like Drew Struzan's and Bob Peaks.
I was just about to mention
like growing up with the illustrated artwork and realizing how fun it was. Like they now have the power to kind of dictate where the industry goes.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Drew Struzan because I was thinking of your guys' style, your visual aesthetic is so striking. You know, you look at your stuff and you can I immediately recognize the same kind of like painterly, I don't know, I said aesthetic already, I'm going to say aesthetic again, but to it. How did you get involved with Mondo specifically?
So yeah, Mondo, we got working together very nearly the beginning of the Film City being a thing. Knew a guy through the magazine named Todd Brown. He used to run twitchfilm.net, and we have the TIFF Film Festival here in Toronto, and they opened their own theater downtown Toronto. He would program movie nights or mini festivals. So he programmed this 80s festival that went over a few weeks. We were talking at the bar one night, and we're like, want some posters for it? He's like, yeah, why not? It happened to be some of my favorite films from the 80s, and I got a chance to do these fun posters that we would give away to 10 random people in the audience. So that was the first projects were us hitting the pavement and making our own clients just to get the name out there and the word out there. And so over the weeks, the 80s Film Festival posters would get released online, and that was right when Mondo was getting fever pitch popularity. So anything alt film poster just hit the web and would get super popular. And eventually I caught the eye of the guys at Mondo, and they got a hold of me asking if I'd be interested in working with them. I'm like, yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, I think I saw your stuff first from the album covers, not the Batman ones, but the Pearl Jam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so
Jack White, Eddie Vedder, Metallica.
But I never made the connection that he was the same guy that was doing the Batman stuff. And so flipping through the book and then looking through Ted's questions that he had written up with us was like, oh, that's that guy. Oh, sweet. Like, so yeah.
When I first started out, it was a lot of band stuff, a lot of like our booklet design, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, yeah, of course, I'd love to. So then we started to do more like vinyl packaging with them, and that led into the Batman soundtracks eventually.
Some of the specific episodes of Batman that are like the lesser episodes, but the poster is still like so badass.
There's always something in there. Even the lesser episodes, there's always a little kernel, a little seed. Like even if it's 22 minutes of mediocre, if there's one good line or one good idea, make that the thing. Anchor it in that, and then you should have a good outcome.
Before we get into the Batman book, we got one last question. This one actually comes from Tom O'Neill in Dublin, Ireland. His son gave him your book for Christmas, and he asks, what did you draw previously to the animated Batman? And we've kind of just mentioned some of the early work from Mondo and stuff, and I guess working for tattoo shops and law firms, but can you kind of fill in some of the gaps, I guess, otherwise?
Oh man, a lot of horror stuff. The first few years the company were pretty horror centric. That was part of, well, we just both love horror movies in general, being around a lot of horror directors and horror filmmakers and producers and companies that did horror movies. So a lot of the work just kind of naturally became horror film stuff. And eventually we started to expand our horizons a bit to more like drama, comedy, science fiction, what have you.
Yeah, I noticed you had covered stuff from like Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Psycho, like some of these, you know, bigger classic horror films, to even stuff like Maniac Cop 2. And you went as far back as A Trip to the Moon, you know, the first sci-fi movie. So
part of the reason why I love doing like film art and key art so much, because there's so much opportunity for variety and experimentation. Like a style that works for, say, Friday the 13th won't work for a drama or a comedy or even a sci-fi. Like you gotta kind of be able to adapt on the fly.
So let's talk about the Batman book, because this is why people are here. So you got a foreword by Paul Dini, as we talked about. How directly involved were you with the creation of the book itself, or was it kind of put together by DC and Mondo, especially with Paul Dini having a bit at the start? Like how surreal is that for you to to see his name being part of your thing when you grew up watching it?
First part of the question, I was very hands-on from the very beginning. The book had been something we talked about for years.
Okay.
We were just waiting for enough posters really to fill a book, because like the first series was around like 12, 15 posters. The demand was there, and I obviously wanted to do more because it was fun. So we kept making them. Book eventually became a possibility. They approached Warner Brothers in DC because they hold the keys to the kingdom. They okayed our idea. I designed the book from front to back, all the templates and the chapter stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then their designers kind of fleshed it out, what I didn't do. When we first started to like plan out the logistics, we thought, who should we get for an intro? And I gave my list, like Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill. Any of those four was fine, you know. And then Paul was he was really into it, so we were really happy to get him. DC, they didn't have much involvement as far as I know in the book. It was mostly just us making it and them okaying it. They had to approve everything in there. So they read the book before it came out, and they read his interview, and it was all fine.
Did you feel like you were like fishing for Paul Dini to say nice things about your artwork?
Well, I think there's a like, not explicitly fishing for it, but if you're gonna do an intro for a book, you can't like, well, this guy kind of sucks, but that is great. Him and Bruce Timm made the series. The stuff that sticks with you, the stories and the characters, it comes from him, like from his heart and his writer's room.
So this is probably the most unfair question to ask in the world, but what is your favorite episode of
the Heart of Ice series?
Heart of Ice.
He says it in the book.
Heart of Ice.
I wrote a comment or question. I was like, he says Heart of Ice in the book.
Yeah. So we wanted to see if you remembered your own book.
Now, so I guess to piggyback off that, what was your favorite to design for the poster series?
Heart of Ice is up there for sure. I think that was one of the first ones where everything kind of clicked. Like the first one was Mask of the Phantasm. That was very like key art style and very presentational. Like there's giant Phantasm, tiny Batman, but that's about where the concept ends, which is fine. It's all it needed. Then we did Harlequinade, and then the concept there was like the bomb and the ladies you see painting on bombers from World War II. And then I think Heart of Ice was very shortly after that, if not after Two-Face. And it was kind of the first one where I experimented with more of a conceptual hook. I think that informed a lot of the posters that came after it. But another one I like a lot is Demon's Quest. I took the biggest leap on because it was so different from anything that came before it. But anything with him, they have such an Indiana Jones vibe. And even one of them even has like the plane with the dashed line. Let's make the art look like a piece of Drew Struzan art. If it has that flavor, let's just go all in.
That's one that I like. Ted has the Tiger poster. I don't know if
hold on, I'll grab it.
Visible.
It'll take me 5 seconds.
As soon as I flipped to that page, I hadn't seen that one before, and it was immediately like, oh my god, I need this. And of course, Mondo is just sold out of most of the posters right now, or all of them.
I got this one.
Oh, nice.
Couple couple months ago. Yeah, I love
Oh
it.
yeah,
Tiger.
That's awesome.
There is that one. I also love. I don't have these, but I love the blind as a bat composition just because of the braille lettering and the two red
thanks.
dots
Thank
as
you.
his eyes. That's
you.
definitely one of my favorites. And then Dreams of Darkness, just for the layered hallucination aspect
That
of all the
one
villains.
took forever to make, just to get like the hallucination done, to make it one work and two look good. That one took, I think, a good solid week, just like doing endless versions of it. I think that was the seventh
People's
version of
eyeballs
that.
becoming other people's eyeballs.
Yeah, that one was tricky.
You write in the book that when you're designing these posters, you have a need to solve the design. So I was hoping you could kind of expand like what that solving process generally entails.
Well, it always starts with watching an episode, doing research. Like say, sometimes you get lucky and you read an interview with a writer who offers some insight that I wouldn't have thought about on an episode. But sometimes it's right there, look at me in the face, like for say, It's Never Too Late. It has a vibe of a gangster movie. So let's start researching gangster movie posters. Like I'm fairly knowledgeable with this stuff, but I need to do more research because I don't know everything. I haven't seen everything that's out there. So if I have a directional idea, conceptual wise, I'll start researching it. Like say for a Man Bat poster, it was, let's do some research on 1940s horror movies and see what sparks inspiration. And then I just start doing endless little doodles, little thumbnail sketches on figuring out the idea. And then I will boil it down to my top 6 ideas, and then they're sent off to Mondo, and then we figure out best one.
Yeah, I love seeing the little thumbnails of your sketches of
me
the
too.
process going along, because some of the super earliest ones are almost always in that same kind of style. You'll do something that you already did on a different poster and then go, oh, no, like that's too close to the thing I did before. Let me tweak this, move this person over here, that kind of thing. And by the end, of course, it's like the perfect product kind of the perfect version. Do you watch the entirety of the episode before, or do you just like, oh yeah, it's this one, I remember?
At the beginning, I still do. If I'm doing a batch of new posters or one, I will watch it just to, why not? It's fun.
Yeah.
But I
have to watch Batman.
Oh god, I have to watch Batman again.
In the book, you mentioned Almost Got Him felt really busy before you landed on the version with just the simple poker table. I was curious what some of those other concepts might have looked like, because we didn't get to see that in the book. Like, you're trying to show like the different stories that the villains were telling.
It's an example of too many good things to choose from, because all the stories were fun, just way over cluttered. It was missing like the soul of the episode. The stories aren't the point. The point is the characters all together around a table playing poker, telling their stories. That's what makes the episode special, not the pumpkins, not the rock, but the rock's funny.
Yeah. I was about to say it would be like a spoiler for the episode if you did, like, you'd have to either choose to show Killer Croc throwing a rock at Batman or choose to omit that. Either way would be wrong.
Yeah. I noticed that there were a few pieces of artwork that were included in the LP vinyl covers that didn't actually get their own posters, like The Last Laugh, Lock Up, Deep Freeze, and Fire from Olympus. So I was wondering why one over the other, and if there were any other episodes that you wanted to do that ended up not getting approved or fell to the wayside.
Yeah, we wanted to give the vinyl packages their own art. A lot of the art from the posters are used on the soundtrack packaging, but we didn't want to just have people buying the same art twice. So for a couple of the episodes, we said, let's do something different, something fun. The second soundtrack set, we sent a list to Warner Brothers for our top picks, and they said yes to, I think, all but one. For some reason, they wouldn't let us have that one. Bullet for Bullock. I've been trying to get that one. I have an idea for it that's not in the book. I want to release a little a 6-inch, like make it look like an old jazz single from the 60s, even the cardboard, like make it look like that.
That would be really cool.
They're mostly good about letting us do what we want to do. I mean, like there are more episodes to do if there is a third box set in the cards. I'm not saying it's in the works right now, but maybe in the future.
No exclusives for us.
Not yet.
Do you have any desire of doing artwork for like Superman or Batman Beyond or the other connected ones? Were they to release soundtracks in this same kind of style?
Short answer, yes.
Yes.
Short answer, yes. I can't say much more than that.
There's our little juice.
Zeta Project vinyl, it's coming. We all know. We also drew a series of mugshot cards that are featured in the book. All the villains getting captured and booked in the asylum, and then supervillain get up, and then you see them in their Arkham jumpsuits. I just love how the names change too. You see like their supervillain names with their actual identities, and then here's the Gotham cards have like you've got your regular profiles of the characters, but then some of them are Jokerized with like drawn graffiti over all of them, and ha-has and stuff. I love the one with Harvey Dent, like where he draws the actual Two-Face face over Harvey. That's probably my favorite one. So how did these cards come to be, and were there any characters that you wanted to do that might have been left on the cutting floor?
So the cards came about when we were wrapping up the first box set. So once all that stuff was figured out, we thought, let's figure something out for extras. Let's have fun with this. We have access to the entire universe. Let's do something cool. So we started to throw ideas back and forth. Let's do some moments from the show, like 5x5 cards with like the origin of villains. But I thought, it's kind of sad because like you have Two-Face, Mr.
They're almost
Freeze.
always very depressing.
Yeah, they're all like, I'm not sure if I want to like couch this thing in tragedy. Okay?
Yeah.
Mugshots be kind of fun. What do you guys think? Then we thought, that's it. Cool. What else can we do? And then we wanted to give it an aspect of randomness. Like there are 6 cards. So he was like regular mugshot, beat up by Batman, and then Arkham Asylum. Police would address them as their nom de plume, like their fake name, like Two-Face. This is the Joker. This is Mr. Freeze, whatever. But you think Arkham wouldn't do that because they're trying to like get to the person behind the name? Like they're trying to rehabilitate them. So why would they play into that delusion?
Do you have any episodes from the new Batman Adventures that you feel like you could do posters like this for, or would want to?
Oh, definitely. Off the top of my head, I would love to do Legend of the Dark Knight when everyone's talking about like the stories of Batman from the regular people's perspective. That'd be a fun one.
I can totally see you doing the Batgirl Nightmare one as like
I was gonna say that one. Yeah, that's one
over
we're
the
doing.
edge.
Yeah.
Critters is another one.
That's one of our personal favorites. No
Giant
shame.
praying mantises all over Gotham. We got to do that.
It'd be fun to do with them style poster for that.
We work on a webcomic called Legacies of the DCAU, which includes a handful of other artists that we've come up on. So we've got kind of our own little team of artists, but we've also got all sorts of people all over our social media and stuff that have shown us like, wow, this is really good stuff that this person does. A lot of aspiring artists, you might say, aspiring professional artists in our circle that may be watching this video. So do you have any particular advice to pass on for people looking to both hone their craft and get into the industry?
That helped me the most was never stop drawing, never stop creating. Always like keep your mind open. Don't have everything based on getting work or making money. If your entire goal is to get a job or get money, if you don't get a job or get money, then you quit, because if this is all you want out of it and you're not getting it, then you're not going to go much farther. Like it has to come from here, not the pocketbook, you know. Open your mind a lot to different things. Your art will only benefit from that. Like look at design, look at 3D artists, look at paintings, like go to a museum when they're open again. Photography, just open up your mind for any kind of inspiration and let it come in.
People who actually worked on the shows, almost exclusively, they don't draw from DC Comics. Like they'll draw from other old movies or other comic companies or other stories or poems or all these things, and then somehow it makes the perfect DC story out of that stuff.
Well, yeah,
so
you can really tell, because like for example, back to Tiger, there's a William Blake in arguably a show for kids. You know, like so like these people who are obviously very worldly and experienced, if you have a knowledge outside of your bubble or your immediate vicinity, you can draw from so much for inspiration. It only makes your work seem more original or different because you're drawing from so many different inspirations.
Discussing all the different stuff you're pulling from for the poster ideas, Indiana Jones and all that stuff. I can't imagine, you know, being those people, being the original poster artists for these things and just having to come up with it off the top of their head. Like they just create.
They had nothing to draw from.
Yeah, they just create the most iconic thing you've ever seen, and then they die. They don't get to Google stuff.
There's a curious story about Reynold Brown. He was an old painter, best known for doing sci-fi, like atomic age sci-fi posters. Like he did Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. He did Journey to the Earth. He was one of the few artists that established that 50s monster style. He created it, but he hated it. Apparently, he just wanted to paint scenery and be a fine artist. He felt that film art was below him, and at one point, he tried to burn some of his paintings because he was so tired of it. He created an entire movement. He developed a style. He was a trendsetter, but privately, he was not at all into it. That drives me wild. Like I look at you for inspiration for years, and you hate all of this. Like
sounds like Bruce Timm. I'm just kidding.
Tell us what's next on the horizon for Phantom City Creative. Any current projects you can tell us about?
Besides the Batman Beyond soundtracks that you're definitely not working on right now.
Yes.
Man, there's a lot of stuff coming out. I can't talk about much of it. You know, there might be some Batman stuff. There might be some other stuff.
That sounds good.
Well, it was easy enough to be like, well, you just put out a new version of this book, but it just sold out in what, like 2 days? So
like 20 minutes. I couldn't believe it. If we sell 50, I'll be happy. Whatever. I'll hold them for conventions. And then we kept seeing the sales go up. I'm like, well, the support always blows me away. I did this series. At that point, it was a job. Like, it was one more gig from Mondo, and I had no idea it would spawn into a series that's spanned like 40 posters at this point. No idea. It was just, oh, cool. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Something that people want to interview you for.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like, a job that I did one weekend turned into this like 6-year adventure. It's great.
Well, website, social media, that kind of stuff. Anything that you want to plug before we cut this?
Yeah,
off?
Sure. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and our website is phantomcitycreative.com.
I'm sure that will all be in the description, and everybody can go find Justin and Paige everywhere. Thank you so much for being here, and I don't know, Ted, do you have anything else you want to
I don't. No, I had so much fun. I loved, flipping through this book over the last couple months.
I'm gonna keep looking at it
Thanks.
forever.
It was a trip making it. Like, it was the gallery show in Austin, walking into the gallery all set up and seeing all the work, like at that point, like weeks back to back of my life put into creating it, and then going through the book. Oddly enough, it was the first thing I did in lockdown. Like, so when the world shut down, I had this book to kind of get me through it.
Yeah.
It was
That's me.
It was like one of those things to lean on. I can completely like put all my focus into.
I had pre-ordered it for months, like probably near the beginning of lockdown, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
But
Thanks.
yeah, so I was
I appreciate
just
it.
counting down. to
Wait, so
arrive.
does that mean I have the new version or the old version?
You've got the old version, but I
Oh man,
was
the sucky version.
Thanks again, Justin.
Yep, we'll talk to you later.
Guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Meantime, I'm drawing soap.